I'm a lousy note taker sometimes. Well, this is Bill Bunch, of course, and Bill, I'll let you tell Randy about yourself and your expertise in Randy's industry. But we have a cooperative relationship with Bill's company here at EnVue, which is kind of the nature of the way that we do business here at EnVue. We look for the best solutions and the best partners for our customers. And after the discussion that you and I had and the way that you do things now, we thought, well, gosh, we ought to let Randy meet Bill and see if there might be something there that could be of benefit to Sapp Brothers. So that's kind of what started this whole thing. And so, Bill, take it away.
Sounds good. Well, Randy, thanks for making time. Apologize for the hassles getting in, but better let all's well that ends well, as they say. I don't know if I'd call myself an expert, but spent probably the better part of 10 to 12 years. Actually, spent 21 years working for Circle K or one of their parent companies. So I was with Phillips, then ConocoPhillips, and then they were sold off in 2004 to a convenience store chain out of Canada. But the last role I had there was running their North America fuel logistics business. So have a pretty good feel for fuel infrastructure, kind of the processes behind delivering fuel. And in the last couple of years, I've moved away from them, and I'm with a company now that is in the transportation software business. So I understand some of the challenge related to fuel infrastructure, and also have a little bit of a feel for the tools that you're using today and the journey that you may be on to kind of get that tool set updated, if you will. So what I know is, a lot of what you're doing feels like a lot of emails, a lot of texting. Load management is probably done manually, is what I'm kind of sensing. And then PeopleNet right now, but you're not really fully utilizing the workflow capabilities that it would offer to you. So, as I look at you laying in PDI, my old company had PDI, and most of the companies we acquired had PDI. So it seems to be a fairly common platform for convenience store operators. And I know it's got some fairly robust fuel information in it. I never viewed it as a planning system, but it that's where we track brands. That's how we kind of manage dealer receivables and things like that, right? And so kind of was a little curious today, and I look at your business as three pieces, and maybe that's not the right way, but that's kind of how I was looking at it. You've got your wholesale business. I saw we've got like Sinclair and Phillips and Shell and BP, and I think it was one other, so multiple brands that you're supporting. You've got your Sapp Brothers travel centers, right? Your truck stops, et cetera. And then it feels like maybe a mobile refueling business where you do on-site refueling. You go in and maybe hit a fleet and fill up all the trucks. So I was a bit curious on the wholesale side, how you guys approach supporting those dealers. Are they doing inventory are you doing inventory management for them, or do they just call all their orders in for you today?
It's a combination of all of the above. So some sites want us to check with them and get physical stick readings. Some people will allow us access to their VitaRoot system, maybe through like an Insight 360 or something. And then some people just want to call as needed, don't want any tank management. We try to steer away from that, obviously, but that's the reality of how diverse our business is.
Yeah. And that latter group is probably guys playing the market, right? They're trying to decide to buy before or after midnight, or before 6 or after 6, or, watching those, rack prices or something. Do you have a tool, like for instance, where you've got, you're getting daily stick readings? Do you have a forecast tool that you're using then to keep them, to project load, et cetera?
No, not typically. I mean, it's pretty manual, like I said, okay, we know how many inches is full, kind of just based off their ullage and when they can hold a load and planning it that way.
Okay. Are you looking to get a tool that would help kind of automate some of that? Is that part of what's on your roadmap?
Yeah. I don't know what step in the totem pole that is, but it's definitely on
Okay.
that totem pole for sure.
And then, obviously the same situation with your trucks, your travel centers are probably getting multiple loads every day would be my guess. And so there's probably not a ton of planning required, probably getting 3, 4, 5 loads of diesel, I would imagine, if depending upon what their throughputs are. So that may not be as challenging, for you folks in terms of making sure they don't run out or carrying the right amount of working capital, in those scenarios.
Absolutely.
But one thing that came to mind when, I was listening to the presentation or to the meeting that you and John had, was if I was sitting in your shoes, not to be presumptuous, but one of the things you probably always got to worry about is credit exposure, and having maybe a quicker mechanism to bill dealers, for fuel and get that receivable aging, going sooner rather than later. Do you subscribe to DTN or how billing your dealers today? How do you get the BOLs?
Yeah, through DTN. It's all pushing through like our back servers, and we can get all that stuff in pretty real time.
Yeah, and what I found with them, they were a bit hit or miss. We got some stuff within hours, some stuff it took 2 or 3 days. Yeah, I think it really depended on, the actual loading facility. Some racks I think have their connectivity into that with their suppliers. And then you're probably using the web portals for allocations, with BP and Shell to make sure your product in these, in your accounts in these different locations. But when I was listening, I think there's an opportunity for to help, on your journey towards automation and getting real-time data. One thing, we work with a lot of fuel haulers. I think John had mentioned that to you. We work with, I'm trying to think of somebody in your area that you might be aware of. Solar Transport sits there in Davenport, and they're kind of in that, central part of the US. Basically a fuel haulers kind of all out North America, but I think they may be the closest to home for you.
Sure.
But we're seeing a trend of maybe collecting BOLs from the cab at the point of loading, through image capture. And then that gives your billing department real-time instant, that gives them immediate view of what's on that BOL. And then I don't know if you have problems with it, but we had a similar dynamic as you folks did. We had probably 23 brands, and at any given loading facility, we might have 4 or 5 contracts. And sometimes even inside of like a branded contract, you might have different contracts for different groups of assets, or a branded and an unbranded deal. And we had a lot of issues with, with our drivers pulling the right contracts. So part of what we can do is push those contracts and loading numbers out, so that they've got line of sight to that, force them to tell you what brand they're pulling, as they're pulling these BOLs, they get eyes on, what the order is versus what they actually have pulled, if they're keying in information. So a lot of good techniques to help drive visibility and reduce some of that error. And then I don't know if you go ahead.
Do you take that down a step further to the actual PetroX number by state? Being that we're right on a state line, we struggle a lot with guys getting the right PetroX number and having to do tax diversions and different things like that,
Absolutely. So, and generally what we'll do is, and I don't know if you would have this loaded in PDI, but usually what we'll do is we'll take a planning system like TNV Fuel Dispatch or, whatever the customer's using. Veeder's got their own, it used to be Fuel Quest. It's part of that Insight 360 now. But I would imagine if you had your loading numbers in PDI, we could pull and display to the driver what the right loading number would be, that PetroX number for that particular stop. So if he's loading for, a Sinclair property in South Dakota, and we'll display that PetroX number, but you have to have a database where you've got these, the connections, right? We've got to be able to leverage that pairing to make sure that we've got, that correlation. And that would help with some of that. We've got one fuel hauler that makes the driver key in the destination state, as part of his loading activity. And then he'll submit a form into the office, but it forces him to look at the BOL. Am I loading, do I have the right destination state on the BOL? And if not, report it so that you guys can follow diversion and avoid a problem. Or maybe dispatch reroute them to a closer, an in-state, location for that if it made the most sense. But it's getting that information, to you guys in a timely manner before you have a problem. Before you got a tax issue or you're in violation for not reporting a diversion, right?
Absolutely.
So, and listening to where you guys are at, I think, it might make sense at some point, John, for us to do a demo of our application. It's a driver facing app that pulls in telematics information, from like a geotab, displays stop information. So it doesn't feel like you've got a planning system yet, but, we could present stop information, pull the core data out of PDI and expose Petrowix numbers, brands. You probably have tank information, so we can show the driver, hey, they've got 2 regular unleaded tanks, or both 10,000 nominal, capacity. That core information, so that when they're loading, they've got an idea. Where you've got ATG connectivity, we can pull in that ATG reading, either through an Insight 360 or a Titan Cloud, or there's several vendors out there, Telepoint, that are providing that data based on your customer, or who the your dealer's using for those kind of services, or where you're pulling that ATG information in for planning. If we could access that, we can pull the last reading. That way drivers could optimize payload and make sure that they can get as many ones on that load as possible. And that helps, in many levels in terms of just making you more efficient. And then, if there's a supply issue or an allocation issue, that happens all the time, as in our industry. You could look at Shell's portal or BP's portal and show I got product. You turn up at the rack and either they're out of ethanol or paper barrels or VRU's down or whatever, right? And trying to get that information back to you in real time so it's actionable, and redirect traffic for your other trucks. That's part of what we're doing. And we can do that without the driver having to key a bunch of information in, because we normally know, what load they're on, what shipper they're, what brands they're hauling, who the ultimate customer is. And that way they just need to report there's an issue, and we'll pull all that data back and make it easier for the driver to communicate those types of issues for you. Again, our typical use case is to have a planning system like TW, and then we're facilitating the transfer of information back and forth. If you don't have a planning system yet, we can still leverage that capability and provide some efficiencies for you, and enable drivers to, get documents back to you, get information on what they're loading, exceptions and whatnot. And then over time, as you maybe evaluate different systems, as you grow your business, we're positioned to be able to support that, those systems being added on over time.
Sure.
If you went to a planning system, or you went to a document indexing system, and went to trying to build dealers within, say, an hour of every delivery, we'll be with you along that whole journey as you look to automate.
Okay, perfect.
And then I don't know the on-site refueling business as well, but I can imagine, there may be an advantage to getting those. Would they have like a clipboard they drop off at the end of the day and show, how they deliver to a given customer, 864 gallons, here are the vehicles they went into. I don't know that workflow as well, but I could see some advantages there too, to speed up billing, and enable drivers to report information in a more timely manner to you folks, instead of waiting until they got back to the shop.
Yeah.
Randy,
absolutely.
do your short haul trucks, the ones that do not have ELDs or PeopleNet, are they doing something completely different from what the ELD trucks are doing? Are they different kinds of trucks doing something specifically different, or do they do similar things, but they just don't go far enough to need an ELD? I'm not sure I understand. all that?
Yeah, so most of those guys, it's really location based, whether or not they need an ELD or not.
Right.
So most of the guys stay under the short haul exemption of 150 air miles or less,
Right.
and so they don't necessarily need an ELD. And then we have other guys that they could be crossing that 150-mile line, periodically. So we just have the ELD in there. But they're all doing the same scope of work.
Okay, so they're all so some of the short haul trucks are also tractors and semi trailers hauling that product. They just don't go far enough to require all the technology that you have on the longer. Did I say that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And then you've also got some trucks that are your on-site refueling rigs. I'm just looked at one of your videos and got a sense of what that looks like. I'm I don't have enough data to understand it, but it looked like some of those are high capacity straight trucks with tank, I don't know what, 2,000-3,000 gallon tanks or something like that are doing the on-site fueling.
We run 5,000 gallon tank wagons.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So one of the things that might be, as we go down this road together, maybe one of the things that we can eventually trial is on your short haul trucks is a geotab device that provides part of that data that Bill is discussing, along with a non-proprietary device that the driver would be provided. And that, when I say non-proprietary, I'm talking about an iPhone, a Samsung Galaxy phone, or an iPad, or a Samsung Galaxy tablet, or somebody else's tablet, that would run these applications and provide you with the full circle of data acquisition and use that would give you the benefits that Bill is taking you through. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so maybe the next step, Randy, I'll let you drive us what you think, but it seems to me that perhaps a good next step would be to let Bill take an hour or so of your time. Is that enough time, Bill, to take him through everything?
That's fine.
And let him show you his thing, and then we could do a more appropriate geotab demonstration that would talk about the vehicle data acquisition part of it and all the stuff that we think would help you, including the DVIR automation part that's so important to you. We're very good at that, and we have. I'll probably even need some additional data from you to make sure we show you the right stuff about that. But you've got your vehicle fleet is in several domiciles. Is that right?
Yep.
And at each one of those domiciles, you have a satellite shop, a maintenance shop in most of those domiciles that maintain the trucks.
I wouldn't say most, but some.
Some, okay. All right. So I'm guessing that when a DVIR happens and there's a problem, one of the concerns I heard you say was that you wanted to be able to get that defect information promptly to the right shop that truck normally is maintained at, and the ability for others at your level to understand that those repairs were actually undertaken and documented, and so the next guy that gets in that thing, he can certify that previous inspection and see that the repairs were done, that sort of stuff, in an organized fashion. Yep. That's not dependent on chasing multi-part forms all over creation like you're having to do today, I suspect.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So I don't know, Bill, if there's anything else we need to accomplish today, but Randy, is there anything else that you have on your mind today? Are you still shopping for fleet maintenance software?
Yeah, that's one of my bigger endeavors right now, is figuring out the workflow of the shops that we do have, and what that maintenance software is going to look like, and how it could potentially, tie all this together, PM schedules and the DVIRs and what that looks like.
We're already integrated with just about anything that you would probably be interested in buying. And, you know, when you get close, you let us know, but we're integrated with most all the majors on fleet maintenance to provide them with the data that's coming from the vehicle. So, so we'll stay with you on that as it comes up, but I think you'll find that we're a good partner in those areas. We have an open architecture and a really good communication capability. Geostab's done terrific amount of work with all the major fleet maintenance software providers. So I think you'll find that we're a ready partner in that area as well. So what schedule wise, Randy, to look at Bill's system, would you think one day next week perhaps, or what do you think?
We'd probably be looking at the following week, like the 23rd, 24th, 25th.
Okay. All right. Earlier in the week, that's Thanksgiving week, right?
Yeah. So I don't know if that works for you guys, but
oh, it probably worked for us. We're we're sellers, you know. So, you're the buyer. So
yeah, I could probably do something, you know, like that Tuesday the 24th in the
Tuesday, okay.
Before lunch.
But Tuesday the 24th before lunch. What about 10 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock Central?
Yeah. Whatever you guys prefer. I'm wide open that morning.
Okay, great. Bill and I will figure that out, and we'll get an invite off to you for the 24th. How about that?
That sounds good to me.
All right. What else can we do for you today, Randy?
Well, you know, you said that you integrate with a whole bunch of these majors on the fleet maintenance. If you got any recommendations on that, anybody I should be talking to there as well, you know, either of you guys, feel free to use that over.
Okay. I'll do some research on that end and see if we've got a preferred partner that we can recommend to you. How about that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I've talked to a few people, but I'm still gathering facts. So
yeah, it's a complicated product. It is.
It is.
And some of it might be, you know, if you're just going to be doing your own maintenance, or if you're going to be doing third-party maintenance. I don't know how expensive TMT is, but we've augmented what Geotab's got, and we've got a great DVR workflow where we'll create a work order automatically. We'll pass off a repair for the mechanic to sign off, for the driver to sign off, and then you've got that, you know, that whole chain memorialized and automated.
Yeah.
Imagine Fleetio and our, you know, there's a whole bunch out there to choose from. And
yeah,
I just find the one that's best fit for service at the right price point for your scale would be my recommendation.
All right, Bill.
And then I would love to, are you for sure going PDI, or is that just something you're looking at?
No, we have gone live with PDI Enterprise.
Okay.
No looking back.
Because what I'm thinking is if a dealer places an order on the wholesale side, if that is somehow stored in a field in PDI, we could probably substitute PDI for like a, you know, TMW or a planning system. And then we could provide feedback and updates to PDI that would show, you know, the BOL number, the delivered gallons, the BOL gallons, you know, and just automate that process. And again, reduce credit exposure, keep your billing department, you know, clear on where they're at. That's the, you know, the more of those dealers you have, they're always riding the wire, right? And if your business like ours is like, you know, dispatch is waiting for a wire to come through and to, you know, to get the credit hold released, you know. But I could see us using PDI as kind of like your core foundation, and us pulling and writing back to PDI. And we've got a tight integration with Telepoint, which is a company PDI bought. I'll have to check with our dev team on how familiar we are with PDI ERP, but in my mind, I'm picturing them maybe being your system of record, and that's where we'd be pulling information from, and maybe use that initially, at least to manage the wholesale side of the business.
Sure.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Tool.
Randy, thank you very much. Happy Veterans Day. And
yeah,
thank you. With that.
All right, we'll talk to you then on the 24th, and let us know if you need to reschedule. Okay.
All right, that sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you, Randy.
Thank you, Randy. Nice meeting. Thanks, John. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.